The autumn fog clung to Lincoln High School like a gray shroud as 16-year-old Emily Harris pushed through the heavy glass doors. Her worn backpack hung loose on her slight frame, and she kept her eyes down, hoping to blend into the morning rush of students. This was her fourth school in 3 years. Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, and now Maplewood, Ohio, a small town where everyone knew everyone, and strangers stood out like neon signs. Her mother, Dr. Sarah Harris, had taken a position at the local hospital, promising this would be their last move. "Just keep your head down, sweetheart," her mother had said over breakfast. "Let's try for a normal year." Normal. Emily almost laughed at the word. There was nothing normal about being a 16-year-old girl who could break ribs with her left hook or having 4 years of intensive MMA training under her belt. In Detroit, she'd been the reigning Michigan junior champion, with a record of 23 wins and 2 losses. But that life felt like it belonged to someone else now. The hallways of Lincoln High buzzed with typical teenage energy. Emily found her locker, memorized her schedule, and made it through her first 3 classes without incident. She began to think maybe, just maybe, his time would be different. Then came lunch. The cafeteria was a maze of social hierarchies, each table representing a different tribe. Emily chose a corner table, hoping for invisibility. She was halfway through her sandwich when they appeared. Brad Thompson stood 6 feet tall with the confident swagger of someone who'd never been told no. His crew flanked him Kyle, Wyrie, and Sharp-Eyed and Jake, who wore cruelty like a comfortable shirt. Well, Brad announced, sliding into the seat across from her. "Fresh meat?" Emily set down her sandwich carefully. "I'm Emily. I know who you are." Brad's smile didn't reach his eyes. "New girl from the big city. The thing is, we have a system here. Newbies pay their dues. Call it protection insurance." "Protection from what?" Kyle snickered. "From us." Emily felt the familiar tightness in her chest, the same feeling she'd had in Detroit before she learned to fight back. But she'd promised her mother, no fighting, no drawing attention, just to be normal. "How much?" she asked quietly. $5 a day, Brad said. "Small price for peace of mind." Emily looked around the cafeteria. Other students were watching, but none met her eyes. This wasn't just about her. This was the established order, and everyone was complicit in their silence. "I need to think about it," she said. Brad leaned forward. "Sure, but don't take too long." "And Emily," his voice dropped to a whisper, "don't even think about running to the teachers. My dad sponsors half the sports teams here." After they left, Emily sat alone, her appetite gone. $5 a day was $1,800 a year, but more than the money, it was the principle. She'd spent years learning to stand up for herself, only to hide it all away. That night, she called her former coach in Detroit. "Master Johnson, it's Emily. How's the new school treating you?" She explained the situation, and the line went quiet for a long moment. "Listen to me carefully," he finally said. "Your mother's right to want you to have a normal life, but sometimes normal isn't safe. These boys, they won't stop at $5. Bullies never do. So what do I do? You remember what I taught you about control. Real strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about knowing exactly how much force to use, when to use it, and when to walk away. If you decide to act, do it smart, do it decisively, and do it once." Emily spent the rest of the evening thinking. By morning, she'd made her decision. "So," Brad cornered her at her locker the next morning. "You got my money?" "No," Emily said simply. His face darkened. "What did you say?" "I said no." What followed was a campaign of systematic harassment. They knocked her books to the floor, accidentally bumped into her in the halls, and made her life miserable at every opportunity. The breaking point came 3 days later in the cafeteria. Brad approached with half the football team as his audience. Without warning, he picked up her lunch tray and dumped the contents in her lap. Hot soup soaked through her clothes as laughter erupted around her. "Clean up your mess," he sneered. Emily stood slowly, soup dripping from her jeans. The cafeteria had gone dead silent. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what the quiet new girl would do. "You made a mistake, Brad," she said, her voice carrying, despite its softness. "What are you going to do about it?" Emily said nothing. She picked up her backpack and walked out. Leaving a trail of soup drops and stunned silence behind her, Emily waited in the parking lot until most students had left. Brad emerged from soccer practice alone, probably thinking his crew would meet him later. "Brad," she called. He turned, grinning. "Back for more. I want to make you a deal. You're not in a position to make deals. One-on-one fight. Right here, right now. You win. I pay you $10 a day instead of 5. I win. You leave me alone and apologize to the whole school." Brad burst out laughing. "You want to fight me? Sweetheart, I bench press 250 pounds. Then you have nothing to worry about." Something in her tone made him look closer. Emily stood perfectly still, her arms relaxed at her sides, but there was a coiled energy about her that hadn't been there before. "All right," he said, pulling off his hoodie. "Your funeral?" Brad rushed forward with a wild haymaker, expecting to end it quickly. What happened next defied everything he thought he knew about fighting. Emily didn't dodge. Instead, she stepped slightly left, let his punch slide past her ear, and drove her left fist into his solar plexus with surgical precision. The blow was short, compact, and devastatingly effective. Brad doubled over, gasping for air. His diaphragm spasmed, his lungs refused to work, and his legs gave out beneath him. Emily stood over him, completely calm. First rule of fighting? Never underestimate your opponent. You, ... How? He wheez. Emily knelt beside him. Mixed martial arts. 4 years of training. Michigan State Junior Champion. 23 wins, 2 losses. She paused. That punch was maybe 10% of my full power. At full strength, it would have put you in the hospital. Brad's eyes widened in terror. Now you have a choice, Emily continued. Honor our agreement, or tomorrow I'll demonstrate what I'm capable of in front of the whole school. With cameras rolling, Brad nodded frantically, still clutching his stomach. Good choice. Emily stood and picked up her jacket. Oh, and Brad, if you or your friends bother anyone else at this school, we'll have a different kind of conversation. She walked away, leaving Brad alone in the empty parking lot. His world forever changed. The next morning, the entire school witnessed something unprecedented. Brad Thompson, the undisputed king of Lincoln High's social hierarchy, approached Emily in the main hallway and publicly apologized. I'm sorry, Emily, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. What I did yesterday was wrong. I was completely out of line. The hallway fell silent. Students stood with their mouths open, unable to process what they were seeing. Thank you, Brad, Emily replied calmly. Apology accepted. Word spread like wildfire. By lunch, everyone knew something had happened, though the details remained mysterious. The quiet new girl from Detroit had somehow tamed the school's biggest bully, and no one could figure out how. Within a week, everything changed. Brad and his crew didn't just leave Emily alone, they became her unofficial bodyguards. When a sophomore tried to pick on a freshman, one look from Brad shut it down immediately. But the real change came when Jessica Martin, one of the popular girls, approached Emily with a problem. We heard you. Know how to handle yourself? Jessica said hesitantly. We have a situation. She explained about a group of older boys from Westside High who had been harassing Lincoln girls at the bus stop. The teachers couldn't help because it happened off school grounds, and their parents would just forbid them from going out. How many? Emily asked. 5 of them, all seniors. Emily considered this. 5-to-1 odds weren't great, even for her. But these girls needed help, and no one else was stepping up. I'll be there, she said. At 3:45 p.m. Emily positioned herself at the bus stop, pretending to read while keeping watch. Jessica and her friends arrived a few minutes later, clearly nervous. The Westside boys showed up right on schedule. Their leader, Travis, was tall and cocky, with a neck tattoo and the attitude of someone who'd never faced real consequences. Look who's here, Travis announced. Our favorite Lincoln princesses. Leave us alone, Jessica tried. We're just being friendly, Travis smirked, reaching for Jessica's face. That's when Emily intervened. Excuse me, she said, standing up. You're blocking the bus stop? Travis turned, looking her up and down dismissively. Beat it, kid. This doesn't concern you. It does. These are my friends. One of Travis's crew, a stocky guy with gold teeth, moved behind Emily. Maybe we should take this one too. He never finished the sentence. Emily's elbow drove into his solar plexus with devastating precision. He dropped to his knees, gasping. 2 minutes, Emily said quietly, turning to face Travis. Get out of here. Travis couldn't believe what he was seeing. Are you insane? I'll destroy you. He lunged forward. Emily moved like liquid lightning. One moment she was 3 feet away, the next her fist connected with his liver. As he doubled over, her knee met his face with a sickening crunch. Travis hit the pavement, blood streaming from his broken nose. The whole exchange took less than 5 seconds. Anyone else? Emily asked. Looking at the remaining 3 boys, no one moved. Smart choice. Take your friends and go. If I see any of you bothering Lincoln students again, this conversation will go very differently. They dragged Travis away, casting fearful glances over their shoulders. Word of Emily's skills spread quickly, but instead of fear, it generated respect and admiration. Students began approaching her for self-defense lessons. Within a month, she had a class of 20 kids meeting in the gym after school. Remember, she told them during one session, the best fight is the one you never have. But if fighting becomes unavoidable, end it quickly and decisively. Principal Anderson was initially concerned about liability, but when he saw the positive changes in his students, increased confidence, decreased bullying, better academic performance, he made self-defense an official part of the pay curriculum. What you're doing is important, he told Emily. These kids need to know they can protect themselves. Emily's reputation spread beyond the school. When a regional MMA showcase came to town, the students chanted her name until she agreed to participate in an exhibition match. Her opponent was Kelly Rose, a 20-year-old rising professional with 4 amateur fights. The match was supposed to be light sparring, but Emily's skills were evident from the first exchange. She controlled the fight completely, eventually submitting Kelly with a textbook rear-naked choke. The crowd went wild. But Emily's response surprised everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, she told the promoter who offered her a professional contract. But I have more important work to do here. 3 months later, Emily's past caught up with her. Travis Miller, the West Side bully she'd defeated, was arrested for sexually assaulting a girl from another high school. His wealthy father hired expensive lawyers who crafted a defense strategy. Blame Emily. They filed a countersuit claiming Emily's unprovoked attack had triggered Travis's subsequent violent behavior. The case attracted media attention, dividing the community into camps. The trial became a referendum on STD's bullying and the rights of young women to protect themselves. Emily found herself at the center of a storm she never wanted. Maybe we should move again, her mother suggested one evening. No, Emily said firmly. I didn't do anything wrong. The truth will come out. The courtroom was packed for the trial. Lincoln High students, teachers, and parents filled the gallery in a show of support. Jessica's testimony was devastating to the defense. She described weeks of harassment, escalating threats, and Travis's friends blocking her escape route. Other witnesses corroborated her account. When Emily took the stand, she spoke with quiet dignity about her background, her training, and her philosophy. My coach taught me that true strength isn't the ability to inflict pain, she said. It's knowing when to stop. I could have seriously injured those boys, but I used only the force necessary to protect my friends. You could have just run away, Travis's lawyer pressed. Emily looked directly at the jury. What were the girls supposed to do? Run for how long? Someone had to stop it, and I did? The jury deliberated for 20 minutes. The verdict was unanimous. Not guilty on all counts. Years passed. Emily graduated valedictorian, earned a psychology degree with a specialization in adolescent development, and opened her center for training young leaders. Her program, which combined martial arts training with character development and anti-bullying education, spread to schools across the region. Brad Thompson, the former bully who became her unlikely ally, graduated from social work school and joined her staff. Jessica Martin became a lawyer specializing in cases involving violence against women. At 30, Emily returned to Lincoln High for a speaking engagement. In the gym, she found a photograph of herself from high school mounted on the wall with a plaque that read, Emily Harris, class of 2019. She taught us that true strength lies in protecting others. You know what's amazing? She told the current students. I came here trying to hide who I was, thinking that would make me safe. But hiding from yourself is the most dangerous thing you can do. When you embrace your true nature and use your gifts to help others, that's when you start living. After her speech, a shy freshman approached her. Ms. Harris, I'm being bullied, and I don't know what to do. Emily knelt to the girl's eye level. Tell me about it, and remember you're not alone. Some people will help you stand up for yourself. As she listened to the girl's story, Emily reflected on her journey. From a scared transfer student hiding her abilities to a confident woman helping others find their strength, she had learned the most important lesson of all. The world doesn't need us to be smaller. It needs us to be exactly who we are, using our gifts to lift others. The hidden champion had finally found her true calling, not in the ring, but in the hearts and minds of young people learning to be brave. 20 years later, Emily's anti-bullying programs had spread to over 200 schools. Across 5 states, former students had become teachers, counselors, and advocates, carrying forward the message that strength should protect, not intimidate. In Maplewood, Lincoln High School remained a model of an inclusive community. The culture Emily had helped create where differences were celebrated and the strong protected the vulnerable had become self-sustaining. Late one evening, Emily received an email from a student in California. Dear Ms. Harris, my name is Maria, and I wanted to thank you. I was being bullied at school until I found your videos online. You taught me that I don't have to be afraid to be strong. Today, when the bullies came for me again, I looked them in the eye and said, leave me alone, and they did. Thank you for showing me that anyone can be brave. Your grateful student, Maria. Emily smiled as she read the message. In the end, that's all any of us can do, find the courage to be ourselves and help others do the same. The rest takes care of itself.